Hey y'all, it's Amanda. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna do the anti-TBR tag. Alright y'all, welcome back to my channel, and I wanted to start this video off with the disclaimer. If any of the books I talk about in this video are some of your favorite authors or favorite books, this is not a personal attack against you as a reader. This is my own personal thoughts. I'm not here to fight with nobody in the comments about books. This is my own, I ain't gonna read this, okay, list. Everybody got one. I'm not gonna get offended if you don't like my favorite books, and I hope you don't get offended if I don't plan to read one of your favorite books or authors, okay? Also, disclaimer, reading is subjective. Everybody has their own favorites, and that's okay. That's okay, honey. You do you. You read what you want to read. I ain't here policing your reads, okay? I am not policing anybody's reads. I'm not judging anybody for what they read. We're going to say that first and foremost, okay? Because I want to make sure y'all know, if you're new on my channel, please do not take me bad. Take me with a grain of salt, honey, because I've been on a journey with my reading over the last several years. And if you've been around for any amount of time, you know me, you know my heart. This is not bashing anybody in their preferences and what they like to read. Don't take it that way. With that being said, let's get into the questions, because a lot of y'all said, do it, Amanda. I said, okay, do y'all want to see that tag? When I did one of my recent tags, you're like, yes, please, do the anti-TBR. Yes, yes, yes. I guess because y'all just love the tea, right? Actually, I love these type of videos. Okay, so sorry for the poor lighting, filming on the hub's phone. It's a whole thing, but I'm just getting these videos out the best I can. Okay, now, question number one. Okay. Boy, I'm just looking at my notes over here. Oh my goodness. Oh, please do not tell me bad. Okay, so question number one. A popular book everyone loves and you have no interest in reading. Now, I've decided to separate some of these into secular options and Christian fiction options, because I read a lot of Christian fiction books, and that's mostly my genre. So, like, I don't really feel like it's fair for me to just say all the secular books I don't plan to read, because I'm not really, that's not always my bag. I do read a lot of secular, clean fiction, yes. Yes, rom-coms, all that stuff, yes. Y'all know I do historical fiction, secular, historical fiction, all that stuff. But I thought it'd be fun to kind of, like, break it up. So I have multiple answers in a book lover Amanda fashion. So, question number one, the secular option is anything by Abby Jimenez. So I guess I'm going to say Just for the Summer. That was like a really popular book everybody seemed to love. But a lot of people would say like it had like low spice. It was fine. But like some very trusted friends of mine have given me more insight to that book. And I have tried reading Part of Your World by her, and I couldn't even get past the first 50 pages. It was just too much for me as far as content goes, personally. And so I would say, from what my trusted friends have said, that people I know very closely, and that we have very similar reading tastes, that it's not going to be for me. Like I said, it's just, I couldn't deal with like how much her characters are always talking about sex. There's a lot of language, and of course there is spicy scenes in these books, and I don't read anything with spice. It's just, first and foremost, you all know that. Like, from what I understand in Just for the Summer, spice is a very big thing that they talk about in these books. And it's like a very casual thing to just chit chat about. I think they said there's like only one or two scenes in this book, maybe just one, of the actual spice scenes. I've heard that this story has got a really impactful meaning in the end, but like they said that about Part of Your World. And like for me, I had a whole secular discussion, a whole romance discussion actually in one of my videos. I will link it down below. I've talked about it before. It's like time-stamped, where I actually read part of that out loud. And I was like, there is no way I couldn't read even the worst parts. Like, there was just no way I could get to the important part of the book because of all the bad stuff. The content that I just couldn't agree with reading. So, yeah, she's definitely one I don't plan to read. There's another book I do not plan to read that I thought, oh, this looks cute. And guess what? They got me. They got me to go and look it up. And this is why you always look it up, ladies. Look it up. Go to Goodreads. Search the word clean. Search the word spice in the reviews. There's a section. That's how I find out. Okay, you do your research. Y'all seen this book going around called The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. It's a no for me. It looks so cute. I was like, ooh, yes. it's taken Book Talk, BookTube, Book Everything, Bookstagram by storm. They said it was at Sam's Club. I was like, okay, no, this has spice in it. Definitely not for me. It's a no. So I was like, dang it. I was so disappointed. So yeah, not going to read that one either. Now, as far as Christian fiction goes, a book that I don't really plan to read, it's pretty popular among Christian readers, but really just as author too, I don't really plan to read, and that is Amanda Dykes. I have tried one of her books before, but her writing was just almost too flowery for me personally, so I didn't really get on with it. But Born of Gilded Mountains, it's this cover right here, it's her newest release. I don't plan to read that. Nothing against her personally. I think that book is for the people who really like that type of writing. And not to say I don't, if you force my hand, maybe, but I don't think it's an Amanda book. Almost said my last name. A book over Amanda book. Okay. So yeah, nothing against that author or anything like that. I just think that her books are not for me. So question number 2, a classic book or author you have no interest in reading. I would say there's 2. Moby Dick, and that's been a very popular answer on all these videos. Oh my gosh, there's so many people. Oh my gosh, everybody's saying Moby Dick. I have no interest, you guys. Like, I already am not really a classic girly anyway, and that's a thick book, and I just don't really care about the whales. Okay, I know they say it's like more than just whales, but I'm just not interested. And number 2 is Dracula. I'm too scared to read it. Is it scary? Y'all tell me if it's scary. I just haven't really had any interest in reading that book. Yeah, let me know. Yeah. Question number 3, an author whose books you have no interest in reading. Well, gear up. Here we go. Sarah J. Maas, L.C. Silver, Carly Fortune, how do you say it? Hannah Grace, L. Kennedy, Jenny Colgan. I tried to read her, it didn't work out. Lauren Asher, Jennifer L. Armentrout, Holly Black, Lucy Score, Emily Henry, all the popular book talk authors that have spice in their books, you will not see me read. So, Christian fiction, I do have some answers there. Rebecca Millett, she wrote the story about Julia Monroe Begins Again, I think is what it's called. Honestly, unless somebody tells me her next books are like super great, I just don't think they're for me. I do usually try to give an author a second chance. I know she has another one coming out, but the synopsis just did not sound good to me. For me personally, I just did not really like Julia Monroe's book. I didn't like the main character in there. It was just not for me personally. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it though. It just wasn't for me. The girl was just too mean, and she was in her 40s, and I just felt like she should have had better attitude about stuff. You know, I don't know. She was just really mean to the guy, so that was really hard for me. I don't like that anyway in a book, regardless of the age. And so it made it worse for me. For her age, made it worse for me. I don't know. So I DNF'd that book. I didn't finish it. So, yeah. And I would say Carmen Schober, Pretty Little Pieces, is one that I read, and I gave 2 stars. It was very lustful. It was definitely not something I care to read. And I actually have a pretty high tolerance for stuff, you guys. So, because I used to read Outlander. You know my story. I used to read spicy books and stuff a long time ago. And I quit that in 2020. Going into 2021, I quit reading those books and only read clean. And I gave Outlander up in 2023 or 2022. I think it's 2022 maybe. So, yeah, I only read clean and closed door now. And so I've been there. I'm definitely not judging anybody's reading, but I have a pretty high tolerance to that stuff. And if I'm saying it was pretty rough, I mean, that's saying something. So, yeah, for Christian fiction, like it really just, you know, for me, even if there's more kissing than some people would like, I'm fine with it usually, like the makeouts and stuff. But like when it's really the intent behind it, like being so lustful when they really don't have a relationship established, I don't like that. Even if it's Christian fiction or not, I do not like lustful books like that in general. So I did not see the hype of that book at all, and I do not plan to read that author so anymore. Nothing against her personally, just wasn't for me. And Michelle Greep. This is kind of, I've got another answer with her in it. I don't know. I've read one book by her I really liked, but the rest I have not enjoyed. I've read was it 2 others? Wasn't for me. So unless y'all twist my arm, I don't know. I just haven't really gotten there with her. So, yeah. And then I would say Amy Clipston. She's one I read one of her books before. There is another book that one of my friends recently read and really enjoyed that I might check out, but somebody gonna have to tell me specifically one of her books that you loved. Like, somebody gonna have to say, because I generally have no interest in reading her books, honestly, after that one I read. So, I don't know. Okay. Question number 4. A problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. And this is really hard because problematic author means like they've done something in their personal life that you're like, I cannot get behind your books, that kind of stuff. I honestly don't know a lot about the authors I read in their personal life. I have no idea. So the only one I had to say, though, was more so for the books that she writes and not necessarily her personal life, because I don't know her much about her personally, but like I think her books are very problematic for the most part, outside of like one that I've read, and that's Colleen Hoover. We all know she has been very heavily criticized for romanticizing very toxic masculinity and just very toxic abusive relationships and unhealthy codependent relationships, and just in general glamorizes suffering, and we call it trauma in whatever you want to call it, like unhealthy stuff. And I've read a lot of her books in the past. I was on the hype train when she first came out. I remember in 2012, you guys, when she first hit the scene, I was like, I'm a friend of hers on Goodreads, or I was. I think I might have took her off. Like, I literally was like one of the first to be reading her books. I remember when she only had like 1,000 followers on Facebook or Instagram. And I was 22 years old. I ate her books up. And the last book I read by her was It Ends With Us. And I will say that's the one exception of her books that I can see why people have enjoyed it. I can see, because when I read it, I gave it 5 stars. It had a very emotional impact on me. And if you really look at it from a personal standpoint, it's related more to her mother's life, I want to say. And like, it's a very personal story for her and her family. So it's like one of those like hard to say, because like her that's the one thing I guess I know about her personally, is like about her mom, what she said. I want to say it was about her mom. I'm sorry if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it had something to do with her family and her dad and all this. And it was like kind of retelling some of their story a little bit, and it dealt with a domestic violence situation and that sort of thing. So, that book, I do see why people have enjoyed that book. I will say that, because I don't feel like she necessarily glamorized the abuse in that book. I feel like it was done okay. But her other books, like November 9 is one I read, and it was very like just toxic, and there was several other books of hers that I couldn't get on with. Plus there was Spice and all this other stuff. So I don't plan to read her books because I feel like the topics are very problematic. Not that she's a problematic author. I don't know that I have one for that. So that's it. And I think a lot of people have said this. Nothing against you if you've liked her books. Like I said, I see why people like It Ends With Us. It's a powerful story. I'm definitely one that felt very emotionally impacted when I read it in 2016, 2015, whenever it first came out. I did read that. And I see. But for the most part, I have no interest in reading her anymore after what most of her books are like. So, yeah. Question number 5. An author you have read a couple of books from and have decided that their books are not for you. Secular, I would say Allie Hazelwood. I've read, I don't know if it's 2 of her books. I can't remember. And I remember really liking one of them. But, like, looking back, I shouldn't have been liking that book. Okay. But yeah, Allie Hazelwood, it's not for me. Cassandra Clare, I actually binge read in 2020 the one that had the love triangle in it. Was it Clockwork Angel, Princess, whatever that was? Infernal Devices. I can't remember if that's what it is or not. Read all 3 of those, and I did read the first book in the Mortal Instrument series. But as of today, they are not for me, okay? Because the books themselves are the content is just too dark for me personally. So, also, I will say Tracy Hall, she has some cozy Scottish mysteries that I have just not gone on with, you guys. Like, there's just something about, I've read 3 of them, and I ended up DNFing maybe the 4th or the 3rd. I can't remember. I just wasn't into it. It wasn't a good cozy mystery series for me. So, question, actually, sorry, I skipped this, sorry. From the Christian fiction side, I would say Mary Keneally, you guys. Like, I know this is a surprise a little bit, but I've read, was it 4 of her books, Mary Keneally's books. And the one series I read, I really enjoyed. Up until the 3rd book was kind of whatever. But she had too much of the feminist stuff in there. That was just like overkill. The next time I tried to read her book, it was in a new series. And it just wasn't for me because it felt like repeat salad. Like, I felt like this is similar to what I've already read from her before. And I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Maybe I might have been generous, honestly, at that time. It wasn't for me. 3.5 stars. It was okay, but I really wanted more depth in the story, and it felt like a lot of what I read before from her. So after that, I thought, I might read her at some point again, but I just don't really plan to. I've got too many other books on the shelves that I could probably be reading from. I just don't know that they're for me, honestly. The first one I really liked, and then it was like kind of downhill from there because they were all repeats, kind of. So yeah, no real depth for me. They were like okay Western type books, but they just weren't for me at the time. So, and Melissa Ferguson is one as well that I have tried to read her books, you guys, and I know a lot of y'all recommend them all the time to me. I just don't like the writing style. I can't connect to her characters. There's something about her books that do not work for me. And that's okay. I'm not bashing her at all. It's just like something about the writing for me. I haven't been able to connect with it. Meet Me in the Margins, one I tried to read. I tried to read The Cul-de-sac War. I want to say there was a 3rd one. I don't even remember what it was called. I tried to pick up and I was like, I'm not into this. So I've just kind of put it down. But I know so many of you all love her books, so do not feel like I'm saying anything about you personally. It just hasn't been for me. And maybe I just haven't found one of hers that I absolutely loved. So, yeah, again, can you pull my arm? I don't know. I haven't really been there. I do see, like, a lot of her covers are super cute, and a lot of times they have, like, authors and stuff in them, so if you like books about people who write books, that might be for you, but, yeah, I haven't been interested yet. Question number 6, a genre you have no interest in, or a genre you tried and couldn't get into. Number 1, horror. Anything that's horror, I can't even say hardly horror. I'm trying to say it right. Enunciate, Amanda. That's a no for me. Absolutely not. Anything that's got heavy violence, blood, like, that's a no, hard pass. Anything too dark that has, like, you know, really dark magic, I can't deal with that. Possession type stuff, that's a no. Anything that's very grim dark, there's some books I've read that have a grimy dark, like, wrote a fine line, but I was okay. I was able to get past it. But, like, anything, like, I'm not really a Halloween girly at all. So, anything that's going to have anything scary, or, like, even just, like, Halloween stuff, I'm not really into it. Witchcraft stuff, like, if it's heavy and, like, goes over, it's like a borderline. Like, I have a very fine line of stuff that I could tolerate from that. Even, like, I used to watch The Witcher, you guys, and I can't even watch it anymore. Like, I just can't. I read the first book, and I remember liking it when I first started my channel. That's like one of my first videos. I kind of talked about that book. I had to unhaul those. Like, I just felt so convicted. It was just my own personal convictions. I just couldn't do it. And I can't even watch the show anymore. Honestly, here's something else. Let's just sidebar. Like, Rings of Power. No. Me and Blake tried to watch it. And it's just like, I've talked to some of my friends about this as well. And it's just like, I don't know about this because Rings of Power is like taking what Tolkien meant, in my opinion, like meant it to be, and twisting it in just a bad, negative way. I do not like what they're doing. I watched the first episode, tried to watch the second episode. I was so convicted, but it was like almost horror leaning, and it had just like the way they were putting Sauron on like this pedestal, like almost like a lord, like that's not my lord, like a lord figure. Like, I guess he says he's Lord of the Rings. I get it, but just some of the symbolism in that has bothered me, and just anything like that, like the spiders and stuff in that, I was like, I had to get up and walk away. Like, I just have no tolerance for stuff like that anymore. And that goes for the same in, like, books. I have to be very careful what I consume, personally, so keep my peace, when it comes to that sort of stuff. So, even when I rode some of the rides at Universal, if it was scary, I had to close my eyes. Because I was like, I have no nightmares. I had nightmares about The Walking Dead. Used to watch it all the time back pre-Jesus. I had nightmares about that for years. Every now and then I will. You watch, I have one now. It is the whole thing. I have to keep my peace. And so I think that goes the same for books and the content and stuff that I consume there. You know, it's just like, I can't get into anything super scary. You know, I don't plan to read like Riley Sager. I tried to read one of his is it him? Is he a guy? I don't even know if he's a guy or girl. I tried to read a Riley Sager before, you guys, and I couldn't even do it. Like, psychological thrillers, very fine line for me. Like, Sally Hepworth might be it. And even then, I got to really research the book and see what's in it. It's like, I got no level. Okay. But, yeah, anyway. So, I would say also historical fantasy is something I have a hard time with. Like, Fox by Nadine Brandes. I love Twisterous, but, like, Fox was more historical fantasy, and I was like, 3.5, 3 stars, okay, but, like, I had a really hard time with it for some reason. So, also sci-fi, if it's, like, heavy sci-fi, probably not going to get into it. We'll see how I get on with the nightmare virus. Oh, wait, you're actually sitting on the nightmare virus. Okay, there you go. It's like right behind it. Hopefully I can get into this one and like it. But Chrissy did a really great reading vlog on it. Now I don't really know if it's going to be for me. Based on her video. But her video was great. And she's like a big nerd and loves like sci-fi. And so for me, it's like, ooh, I'm not really into sci-fi much. So like, am I going to like it? I don't know. Either way, we'll see. Those are just some of the things I want to mention there. So number 7, a book you have bought but will never read. This can be a book you have unhauled or returned to the library unread. Let me go to my unhaul pile. All right, so I had to go to the unhaul pile, you guys, because I've still got like a bunch in the box that I need to take off. So I got 3 here. These are some books that I bought that I don't plan to read. Poldark Book 2, Demelza. I tried to read Book 1. I just wasn't really into it. I had read it a long time ago, Book 1, and then when I tried to reread it now, like many years later, I was like, oh, this ain't for me. So, yeah, definitely don't plan to continue on in that series. And then Pumpkin Spice and Not So Nice by Becky Monzon. I just don't really think this one's going to be for me. So, I ended up unhauling it. And then The Holiday Stand-In by Courtney Kiesel. Now, I bought this on a whim without reading the synopsis. And then I read the synopsis and I was like, I'm not going to like that. So I don't want to like put myself through it only to give it a bad rating. Said, he's everything I ever wanted. Too bad he's my boyfriend's twin brother. So she has a boyfriend. It sounds like her boyfriend says he's too busy working to spend the holidays with her and family. So she's upset. Not only will I be alone, but my family is convinced he doesn't love me. So when his identical twin comes to town, I realize a swap could be the perfect way to reassure my family and give me a date. So she ends up like saying, hey, will you step in? But our fake out quickly goes to from the solution to the problem. Falling for your boyfriend's twin brother is never a good thing. And when my real boyfriend finally has time for me, things get confusing. So I just was like, it's giving cheating. I can't. Like, it just wasn't for me as far as the synopsis went. And I thought, I done bought this thing. So it's just not something I think I like. So just from the synopsis alone, I should have read it. I always read the synopsis, people. There's that. Question number, oh wait, I have another one. Throne of Glass. Apparently I bought like I forgot this. I bought the first 4 books of the Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And I've heard that those first few are not spicy or anything, and they're pretty good, but I just don't want to support that author, so I don't. So yeah. Question number 8. A series you have no interest in reading, or a series you have started and DNF'd. Secular, I already talked about the Mortal Instruments series. It was too dark. Shadow and Bone, I read the first 2. I just didn't finish it for whatever reason a long time ago, and now I don't plan to continue on. So Outlander, I read all through book 9. When book 10 comes out, I don't plan to read it. I'll just Google what happened. So I get the Cliff Notes. Fourth Wing, that is not for me whatsoever. Too explicit as far as like content. Game of Thrones, not really something I would probably read. As far as Christian fiction, this is where Michelle Greep comes in. I started reading this book. It was like The Thief of Blackfriars Lane, and I loved it. I got like 4 stars, whatever. And then I tried book 2 and I just was not here for it. So I didn't really plan on continue on in that series. So yeah, I ended up DNFing that. I think there's a 3rd book. I just wasn't interested. So yeah. And question number 9. A new release that you have no interest is the last question. No interest in reading. Holly Varney, her newest, The Blooming of Delphinium. I don't know. So, you know that I read On Moonberry Lake. I DNF'd it 30-something%. It was too new agey for me. It was a no for me. Big no for me. And so, that's why I'm not continuing on in the series. So, that was just me. Over if you want to see that for Holly Varney's book. But it's a new release, and it's just, I just don't think, that's the one author I don't think I'm going to give a second chance to. So, yeah. Also, The Christmas Tree Farm by Melanie Carlson. I don't plan to read that one because it had, like, the synopsis talked about sister drama, and I was like, oh, I don't want to read that. I actually started the first chapter, and I was not interested, so, yeah, I ended up putting that one down. But I have really enjoyed some of her books before, so hit or miss, just depends. So, that's it for this anti-TBR tag. Let me know. Let me know some of your answers for these questions. And let's not fight. Let's not fight in the comments. If you liked any of these books, please, I'm not attacking you. I'm not here to fight. But I just, they're not for me. So, yeah. And my reading has really evolved. Every year it does. It evolves. But, like, specifically these last couple of years, the reading has really evolved, you guys. And so that's part of why it's like I protect my spirit a little bit with what I read and what I watch and just all these things. Like, I really try to make sure that I'm really paying attention to what I pick up, and is it going to have something that's good for me, good for my spirit, all this stuff. I don't want to be having no nightmares, so, because I've had them. But everybody's going to have different levels with things, and something I may read, I know there's some books I've read that other people are not comfortable with for the level of kisses and things like that in there. So, like, I'm not even saying anything about that. Like, it's fine. Everybody has their own level of stuff. Reading is subjective, and if you don't love my favorite books, that's okay. I don't love your favorite books, that's okay. This is just the way it is. So anyway, that's it for me for this video. Let's chit chat below down in the comments as always. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully as painless as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all.